Right, we're going to get into the indie of the week. And this week, I've picked a classic indie that everybody should know. And I picked it off the back of the phrase I heard midweek, which was, there's no point in getting into BattleTech because it's out of stock everywhere. And I heard that and I went, technically correct.
From an official standpoint, yes, I guess.
From an official, if you're buying the Catalyst plastics. However, there was a company many moons ago who started BattleTech, and they had a metal range, and they're still running to this day. And if I want to go out and buy any BattleTech thing, I can just go to Iron Wind Metals.
Ooh.
And the nice thing is, I'll just go in there and I just buy one. And they'll send it to me. And I won't
and it arrives before you know it.
Yeah. And I don't have to go, oh, there was a Kickstarter 4.5 years ago where people have got it if they're in Swabiland, but nobody else has got it. Okay, grand. Anyway, as you can see, Ironwood Metals, which took up the Ral Partha standard and ran with it, doesn't just do BattleTech.
I've just seen Crimson Skies. Oh
yes, you have. We could start with the Crimson Skies. We can start with Crimson Skies because it's relatively small. So they have the classic BattleTech range, but they are adding to it. So we'll come back to that in a moment. But they do Ral Partha, Fantasy, Historicals, Shadowrun, Crimson Skies, Vor. So anything that FASA made back in the day, these guys have, which is always good. Crimson Skies is, of course, a 1930s pirate game.
Yeah.
Which came first, though? The tabletop game or the video game?
Tabletop game. Video game.
They did the Xbox game back in the day.
Yeah, they're all based off the board game. So the idea was an alternative 1930 where America had collapsed and the entire country was just filled with people in their weird, wacky flying machines going around the place in a bird dog autogyro.
That's so cool.
Swooping in as some sort of terrible corsair comes to take your face off. Look, Lloyd, look, tiny pictures.
I'm over this.
I was going to do GZG because half of their picture links aren't even there yet. The site's been open for ages. But anyway, yeah. So if you've got the urge to do something in, I can't remember. I think these are 1/600th scale-ish, thereabouts.
Right. Okay.
Maybe a bit bigger. They have in here all the sorts of weird and wacky stuff. Those magnificent men in their flying machines. The Curtis Wright J2 Fury. Look at that. It's insane. Because this got a whole lease of life via the medium of WizKids did pre-paints at one stage as well.
I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah. So it went board game, Xbox game, and then people went, oh, that's popular. We should make a tabletop game of that. We've got one. Matey boy, where do you think the video game came from? Let's do pre-paints. WizKids did pre-paints away. Because I remember that. I do remember that. That's not just old man syndrome kicking in. That's not a fever dream. There were, but I don't think they were ever as extensive or as nice as these weird and wacky things with the bizarre looking shapes. I mean, it's all the weird stuff that people thought would be good in the 30s. They're going, you know what? We need more duck boats and flying fortresses and
gyro style machines,
uni-wing things. I remember the first time I ever seen a gyrocopter or an auto-gyro, whatever it was. It was in a Rupert Bear annual. There's a whole story where they had one landing on a castle. It was very peculiar. Yeah.
As his poor scarf gets caught in the rotors.
No, he didn't. Didn't get caught. Oh, I hate you so much. Anyway. Oh, there's somebody's painted one. I wonder if it's any bigger, Lloyd. Smaller, please. Smaller. Oh, slightly bigger. Oh, just been washed. Anyway.
Are they all metal? They look like they're metal.
They are throughout the entire range. Everything you see in here is metal.
I should have guessed by the name. Iron Wind Metal, shouldn't I? Really?
Yes. It's like nature intended. I
just don't get it. I don't get these websites that try to show the miniatures. Oh, we'll try to show them at the actual scale. They are tiny.
Oh, no, don't worry, because there are some pictures of models that I know are bigger, but they debugulate when you click on them. I think it's just the pictures.
It's like reverse psychology. You need to buy them so that you can actually... It's just like what happened with you and Drabant. The pictures were so bad, you bought the entire range so you could re-photograph them so they could send them and put them back on their website. So
that is
it was true. Worse. I just kept all the photos to myself.
Well, you would
just lie amongst them. In bed.
You would do. I mean, why would you not?
It was literally that. It's like, I don't know what this is, but it's in the range. I'll buy it to find out.
Yeah.
There are websites I go to where it lists things where it will just say helmet under arm standing ready with whatever weapon is in hand. And you don't get a picture, you just get a description. It's up to you to work it out, mate. For people who like adding chunk to their games, replace those little plastic tiddlywink tokens with actual hunking metal coins. They do a range of various types. The elf one looks distinctly like the old Irish punt. I'm just saying that. But if you want some coinage of all sorts of flavors, they're all in there, including some, I'm not going to say historical, because they're not. The Roman coins and the Viking coins are very much not. However, if you play something like Gags of Rome or whatever, you want to chuck in a Roman-esque coinage, and you don't know where to look yourself, or you can't get to a museum that sells them, then you can get those. Anyway, BattleTech.
I think I've seen Ironwind at conventions selling a lot of their coin stuff. I think it was. It might have been a while back, but
it's entirely possible. Entirely possible. Yeah. So, BTech.
Of course, the main reason we're here, obviously. Yeah.
Obviously.
So that you can send all these links to John after the show. And
yes.
Oh, man.
Yes.
BTech.
So, new classics are...
New classics?
They have two ranges of BattleTech miniatures in here. They have stuff that are the original models / sculpts from 30 odd years ago, more. And then they've been adding to that since then. So the new classics are ones that have been CAD designed. That sort of thing. So they're still releasing models for BattleTech, even up to, I think, like this year. So if you're in like Flynn and looking for something and you're going, well, the original model was a bit chunky and hunky, maybe I'll go ahead and pick up the Catalyst ones instead, and then discover that they're out of stock on 6 out of 7 continents, only available through their Antarctica distribution, which is only does collection. So you've got to get to there. Anyway, you can then come here and grab something that's more updated, but also a hunking piece of kit. I will say I like. Oh, look bigger, Lloyd, bigger.
With this picture, you're really teasing us.
Yeah, don't worry, they'll get small again. I do like that there are various ways to filter this site.
Right.
If you know BattleTech.
I see.
You can see there all the specifications are in tonnage, and it gives you the technology and unit type and era. By the way, never play anything after 3050, because once the clan arrive, the game is broken. Play all your stuff earlier. For people who have not come across BattleTech and are wondering just how in depth it is, this is the eras of BattleTech. These are all playable periods. Now, I don't know what Catalyst goes like these days, because obviously they have Alpha Strike and stuff, which I find honestly pointless as a game. You may as well just play 40k, because you take away you're taking away the system management, you're taking away heat sinks and tonnage and blah, 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 and all the rest of facings. And at that point, you're just playing a skirmish game, but with mechs. You could put your mechs on the board and just play 40k or bolt action. They would be the same. But each of these eras is like any historical period that we would have. They are that in depth. The nations, the factions, the equipment they have, the accessibility of certain equipment for certain factions within periods changes. So you don't play something from the late Succession against something from the Age of War. It would be like World War II Germany blitzkrieging into the Punic Wars, things like that. Broadly speaking, you will find that some models, some chassis types exist throughout them, but there's a lot going on. So that's why I'm not going to go through the filtering system, because I don't know which ones to filter to bring up specific things, because I'm not
pretty
that
quiet
in-depth.
Between 2005 and 2050-70.
Yeah.
And then it goes batshit crazy.
Yeah. They The battle mech arrives during that period, and that's a long, drawn-out, protracted affair. And then after that, people just start going. It's like armor in World War II. We start with little Czech tractors, and then it's how quickly can we make a mouse? The answer is about 4.5 years. And similarly for this, boom, it goes absolutely jonkers. Anyway, so they have a whole variety of things like your catapults and mad cats and locusts and warhammers and that sort of thing.
That's so nice.
All within the new mech range.
Yeah,
riflemen and archers.
So just to recap, these are the old mechs redone in CAD.
Yes, so these are new sculpts of old mechs.
So it allows them to get a little bit more definition and detail into the metal and stuff in the end. Yeah. Right.
If I go into the BattleTech, these are the original. Some of them are more recent than others, so some will be slightly better sculpted, refined. But then a lot of them are based on the illustrations from Facet from the books back in the day. So you're never going to see a massive iteration between an Atlas sculpted 35 years ago and an Atlas sculpted 6 months ago, because they're still based on the same line drawings and schematics of an Atlas. But I'm not going to spend a ton of time clicking into individual pictures because the amount of mechs is substantial.
Well, yeah.
And this is just the mech side. And again, like I say, though, depending on what you're playing, you may find some of these are not suitable for your particular period. But I do think if you're going to play BattleTech, you go all in on BattleTech. You don't mess around with this Alpha Strike nonsense. You put a hex map on the table. You put your lance down. And if people haven't played, you're not playing with tons of figures. You should be playing with a lance, 4 models. And potentially you're splitting the lance between you and a friend, a couple of models each.
Because there's enough admin to do with.
Yeah, well, it's not a ton of, all you're really doing is colouring in dots. Back in the day, it was pencil on photocopies. Yeah. These days you could laminate stuff and use overhead projector pens.
Lamination.
That's why I've got mine. But you can see a whole host of things. And your mechs are split by tonnage, so they go from light up to sort of super heavies. And you construct a lance based on a certain combined tonnage. So you're sitting there going, well, I can bring the big things, but if you don't have a mix of medium, light, and big in there, then you find that you can't really have all the ammo and equipment you need. And yes, it's great sticking all the guns on something, but then you realize that the heat that you're generating is more than, if you fire, you shut down.
Yeah.
You end up with the Excalibur from Babylon Crusade. We've got the best weapon in the galaxy, but every time we fire it, our engine switch off for 15 minutes. We can't move. So we can't use that. But yeah, it's a substantial amount of mechage. And then on top of that, they also have all of the flyers and ground-based troops, because Mech Warrior, while it lent into the battle mechs, it kind of ignored tanks and stuff. And I know a lot of people have come into BattleTech via the Mech Warrior computer game route, but they're missing out on the fact that, yes, mechs were obviously huge and fun, but I mean, look at the head on that fella, the Galahad glass spider. But yeah, a tank battalion or whatever could still take lumps out of one, and if it was something chunky and meaty in the distance, stomping forward like a nice super heavy, then you'd have a much better chance of knocking it over.
Go to the combat vehicles section, because it's got a whole range of what you're talking about right now.
Oh, yes. So combat and our aerospace fight wars as well. And again, I think this is where the game shines. You do have a whole host of weird and wacky vehicles, some of which have a bigger basis in reality, shall we say, than others. Okay. Some are slightly more updated. I mean, that one with the wheels that are external to pivoting armatures rather than having an axle running between them. That's a very modern concept as far as design goes. Love it, Lloyd. Just get your face close to the screen, mate. That's how you make it bigger.
Enhance.
But
this just gets worse as you get older.
Oh, it's so much fun. That's why I've got a big TV screen. But they've also got things like the Hetzer, but it's a Hetzer wheeled vehicle. It's like, how could we take a Hetzer tank from World War II and make it different? Yeah. Let's put wheels on it. But we'll keep the massive gun and the huge turtley shell.
What's that big long looking thing?
No, the long Tom artillery.
A little bit like a land train. Is that what?
Yeah,
it's an artillery piece. I'd also like to point out the J. Edgar hover tank. J. Edgar hover.
Yeah, I see that.
It's good times. Yeah, it's just a massive gun with several additional carriages containing ammunition for said massive gun.
All the shells, yeah.
Long Tom, 95 tons. That's a beast. Inner sphere, though, which means all of a sudden the filthy clans arrive and just stamp on the ball.
Yeah,
just never play anything with clans.
I can't remember if it was a weekend or an XLBS. We talked with John about just how in depth BattleTech was and how everyone thinks that Warhammer 40,000 is the deepest, most in-depth sci-fi game out there, and that's why people are drawn to it. And then someone says, "Hold my beer," and BattleTech steps in.
The thing that separates BattleTech from 40k lore-wise is that GW will rewrite, retcon, and change things on a regular basis. And essentially, there's not really much of... You can't put a timeline down for 40k, really, because it's like, stuff happened billions of years ago, and then like 30,000 years, this happened, and then there's a gap of 10,000 years where we don't really know what was going on, and now we're here today, and these people have all done stuff in the last 150 years, so their entire timeline is like 150 years, and it moves, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, and you can't codify it. That the books that accompany these are like historical reference books where you go in and you go, this happened, here's the maps of the area, you can see empires contracting, expanding, changing, being subsumed, whatever. And that's always been fixed, and they were always advancing the timeline, hence the clan wars. Shouldn't have gone that far, but anyway, that's the...
But they can
for me, that's the equivalent of the old world.
They can undo the clan wars by moving beyond them.
Well, yeah, and they have.
I mean, why does it say 99999? Is that only 9999?
That's...
If they just decided we've given up, that's it forever.
I've never been that far into it because, like I say, that's your cutoff point. You don't want to hit the clan invasion,
right? Okay.
So I don't know what's gone afterwards, but yes, you can push on beyond that, and
go to the
see
planes,
where things
Gerry.
are going.
Go to the airplane.
One step ahead of you, son.
Also, I mean, the other thing is that BattleTech has also done the multi-format, medium thing that Games Workshop's stepping into now. You got all the video games, the cartoon stuff, comics, all sorts of different things, haven't you? So it's not like you're wanting for ways to get inspired about it.
No.
So, yeah.
So yes, the only thing they do...
some things that you're wanting for to get inspired about it. One that comes to the top of my head would be big photos. That would be one.
Just move your face close to the screen.
It doesn't work.
It does work.
It doesn't generate resolution.
That's how it works. That's how you distance. Anyway,
the only thing around that mic, Lloyd.
The only thing I don't think they have in here is your infantry. So your little jump infantry and that sort of thing. But otherwise, you can get your...
As in, you can't buy them?
Yeah. I don't know how much people use infantry. They do sell hex bases. If you've got hex bases, you can get your hands on any 6mm sci-fi thing.
Guys.
So hammer slammers, whatever, go to GZG and pick up 6mm sci-fi infantry from that, or fly infantry, whatever it happens to be. And that's all you really need is bases of those, because they do get killed very quickly, which will harden them.
Yeah.
So that's the BattleTech stuff. There is other bits and pieces on there like Hackmaster and but you would get lost in there forever. I will say their links, ignore the top 3 and go straight to camo specs if you're interested in BattleTech.
Okay.
This is every color scheme, pretty much.
Wow.
Showing 6 of over 5,000 BattleTech miniature color schemes. So if you want to know how to paint specific things, like, let's pull up the factions. These are your factions. Obviously ignore anything with the word clan in front of it. But you can go in and go, right, I really want to run, I'm going to be doing the whatever age, 2367 Lyrian Commonwealth. What do I need? Bam, into there. And then there you go. Here's the unit, the regiments from within. They're in. So you go, I've always really liked the whoever they happen to be. The Donegal Guards, big red hand of Ulster. What? So it will at least give you a breakdown of color schemes. And then there's also tutorials, not for everything, but they do have 500 odd tutorials, specifically for the actual clans. So you can go in and you can filter by painter as well, because there's a ton of people who've been working on it. In fact, these are the artists who've been working in the community to curate this. So he's only done 15. That's outrageous. Compared to Whack Rabbit with his 294.
I never really understood why John likes mechs so much. I mean, he's into tanks. A mech is like a complete bastardization of a tank.
But it's a tank that walks.
It's a tank that can. It's a tank that can walk, and then
I could get behind that if they look like tanks that walked, but they look like people.
Yeah,
and people are the worst.
Oh, people are very much the worst. But imagine your tank walks forward and then picks up your opponent's tank, which is just a dull tank on treads, and then turns it upside down and puts it on its back like a turtle. And then your tank's spinning its wheels.
I hadn't thought of that. That is interesting.
Fine, I'm surprised more mechs don't do that.
Yeah,
they sneak up behind and flip it over.
Move.
Yep. Good luck with that, people. Good luck with that. But yeah, that's Ironwind Metals. Like I say, just the BattleTech version of it. If you are interested in the old Relpathus stuff, they have Relpathus Fantasy and Historics in there.
I know, because I'm looking at them.
True 28mm things. So
dragons.
There is a ton of fun to be had in there. Let's put it like that.
Don't know why we didn't look at this section, but oh well.
Because you can go to the Relpath site to look at that stuff.
Yeah, maybe we will sometime soon.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to tell the people out there who contemplated BattleTech, but then followed it up with the I can't get from Catalyst ... to just go elsewhere. Go to Ironwind, pick up metals. They're better than plastics because they're metal, and you'll get them. And then have fun with lances.
Yeah.
Right. Enough of that. Let's move on and take a look at some news.